By now, you've seen the topic. You probably heard the news this week. So let's talk about it right here and now. Let's begin. So apparently the news of the week is Giant Man. I mean, look, I've often said the Toy Connections isn't really a breaking news channel, but there's nothing to say that we can't react and look at some trends in the industry. If you've seen the thumbnail, you're familiar with Marvel Legends going all the way back to the Toy Biz era of the 2000s, you can look at the trends and basically just say, look at what we've got here. They did it in a different order in the Toy Biz era. That's why I stuttered a little bit. I'm like, which one do I talk about first? But the way that they did it as far as HasLab is concerned is they went with Galactus first, then Sentinel, whereas in HasLab, they did it the other way around, then squeezed in an Engine of Vengeance. And then they went with Apocalypse in the Build-A-Figure era, and then Giant Man, and it looks like they're going to go with Giant Man first as far as this HasLab is concerned. I'm purely speculating on Apocalypse. That part's not breaking news whatsoever. That's why the thumbnail shows the Build-A-Figure version. But, and the rest of the thumbnail shows the HasLab versions. Now, we can talk about a lot of things here. I'm not an expert on price because I don't know what Marvel licensing fees or tooling costs. But it is better price than the other two previous giant Build-A-Figures that they had, and much better price than the much maligned Engine of Vengeance. So this is actually a bonus edition of the Toy Connections online live stream, or TKO. I've actually started thinking about taking out how I do that because I haven't watched AEW that much, and I haven't seen Britt Baker do that DMD thing she always does, because that's where I stole that moniker from. What was I saying? We still have a stream tomorrow with me and Tony Romo from not the Dallas Cowboys, Tony Romo from Tony's Figs, who's sometimes a guest host on A Toy Kind of Mood. And we're going to talk some custom figures then. But I woke up this morning and I said, you know what I'd like to talk about? I'd like to talk about this. So let's bring some friends on camera. And first one, he's on the road, but he knows a lot about this topic. We normally talk to him about Motu. He's very determined. He just loves coming on his friends' streams. And the reason he's on this early right now, why? Because he actually fell asleep early last night. And so did I, actually. And just so you know, we fell asleep in different parts of the globe, so it was like, no, it wasn't like we were in the same bedroom. That's not how I know he fell asleep early. Okay, this is getting really disturbing. Oz, run some interference for me. I'm embarrassing myself here.
Well, I appreciate the introduction, and it's true. Ken and I sleep on other sides of the world, not in the same bed, folks. It happened. We just both fell asleep early, and by early for me, it was like 8 on the East Coast. So for Ken still probably would have been up for a couple hours. So
wow, I was at 11, and I'm normally like 11:30 midnight kind of person these days. I was watching, some World War II documentary. I was looking up the Battle of the Bulge, and I was like, I got 15 minutes left. I don't think I can finish this. It's all because I want to do a Band of Brothers live stream at some point in time, and a Band of Brothers the Band of Brothers deep dive. But the thing is, my deep dives, people tend to enjoy them more if they're G.I. Joe, Transformers, maybe wrestling or Motu related. If I suddenly go way off my usual cadence, then people are like, what's this? And then I don't know if the algorithm works against me or what. But Oz, why so determined today? You're on the road, but you're still joining me.
This is a pretty cool topic. Nice big news that hit yesterday. And like you, when I normally get news, or when we get news, it's like the beginning of the week. And the Toy Frenzy talk show's on Thursday. I might join with Mega J on a Friday. But like when I start to discuss news, it's not necessarily news anymore. So this still being relatively like within yesterday and today, 24 hours, this is about as close to getting to talking about news that we can. And I've seen a lot of varied opinions on whether people like this current HasLab, and also just even about how close it is to we're literally on the third back-to-back HasLab, along with another big crowdfund that's still going on as well. So, it's an interesting time to discuss crowdfunded topics, and especially when we look at value and price, like whether you think it's worth it or not.
Well, I'll say this, right? Like, as soon as this ends, the Transformers HasLab is going to come next. You know what it is, and I
Yep.
have a few ideas about what that could be, but there's so many things swimming in my head toy related. If there was actually like a college major for toy historian, I probably would be studying my PhD for it right now, because I enjoy it that much. But anyway, that's a whole nother sob story for another day. But yeah, so God, I got a lot to say about this stuff. Now, did you collect Marvel Legends during the Toy Biz era?
I did not. At the time, that was one of those times where I wasn't collecting figures. Very similar to kind of why I stray away from Legends right now. At that time, I was mostly doing Legacy series Star Wars.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And,
Yeah.
The cost of a Toy Biz Legends figure, although cheaper than what we get now with a Legends figure, it was still pricier than my Star Wars, and there was a lot of Star Wars to buy. Hunting for different, variants of characters and everything. It was a lot. It was a big time. So I didn't get in there. However, I always thought that Build-A-Figure, that kind of kickstarted with the Legends, always thought that was really, really cool and unique, and a way to get these characters who needed that larger scale. The original
Yes.
90s Toy Biz era, they released a Giant Man. I mean, it would have been its own separate thing, kind of big, like the Sentinel was that they released during that time. But it wouldn't have been as well engineered as they got when they started doing the Build-A-Figures.
Absolutely. And those Build-A-Figures, that's when I got into Marvel Legends. And Neil, being a third-party Transformers person, might understand this. But when Transformers really ramped up with a third party and getting like really deep into the modern again, because they were always doing something every year, but they got deep into revisiting the G1 characters a bit later in the 2000s, and I couldn't keep up with Marvel Legends after. So like most of my Marvel Legends experience is in the Toy Biz and early part of the Hasbro era. So whenever they say, oh, there's an improved face sculpt for Rogue from X-Men, I kind of lose track, right? I have some X-Men figures up here somewhere. The shelf that you can't see. Actually, Oz helped me out with this. In the chat, let me know if you like what I did with the lights over here. Normally they're just white lights behind me. Sometimes they're even completely off. But I just changed the batteries yesterday because I was filming something like a pre-produced video, which Oz, you may have seen the thumbnail on the Patreon there.
Certainly did, sir.
Join the Patreon for only $2 US a month. You get bonus content. You get thumbnail previews, camera roll previews. The bonus content's usually just me doing my own pre-recorded TKO and only airing it to the patrons, usually with a blurry camera, but the audio is the only thing that really matters on that. But anyway, yes, let's just say I'm working on a little something, and I wanted the lights behind me fully activated when that happens. So yeah, let's talk about this topic. Let's say a quick hello to whoever happens to be in the chat. Largos Lair just did a great history video recently. We got Boba Hicks. We got Kayla Silva, who I was just talking to earlier on. Scuba Pete is here. Geek the F out. I don't know if that's Kayla on both accounts or if that's Johnny on the other one right now. We got Kay Slater. Scroll. We got Stephen S. We got, who else do we got here? Rhea Black. Hello. Good to hear from you. Neil Hill. And who else do we got here? Scrolling. It says there's 17 people right now. Not bad for a pop-up live stream that I set up, an hour ago?
Yeah, just about. Like, you sent out the message, and I was actually getting ready, but I hadn't heard when I was going to be getting picked up to come out today. And I was just like, oh, shit, he's got to throw this now when I'm about to head out. So I was glad. I was like, you know what? Skirt, I'll just take it from the road.
Yeah, and if for some reason you get to your destination and you got to drop off, just give me a minute's notice or so, and then I'll let you wrap up some of your thoughts.
Sure.
On that. So one thing I wanted to do though was kind of take a stroll back. Well, you know what? Let's just share some screens. What do we got here? All right. So Oz, I think you're probably better at sharing screens than I do. I just open up another tab and I just add it to the stream like another camera. You probably do a lot better as far as like the PDFs and whatnot are concerned. But anyway, so this is what was revealed yesterday. This is directly off of Hasbro Pulse's site. And Mega J, you have the link if you feel like jumping on. I know Oz and I both missed your stream last night, and we knew that if we had commented in the chat, you probably would have sent us the link. And I was laying down, about like not trying to pass out, but like about to pass out. So I saw you and Brick on for a bit, and yeah. Anyway, it's too early for a stream, but anyway, I'm here anyway. So, all right. So this is what was revealed yesterday.
Yeah.
And look, there's a lot of ways we can go with this, right? Like the stretch goals you and I were talking a little bit beforehand is that it's really just the zombie head and the Skrull head, right?
Yeah.
Like that's all we've really that's all we've really got here. And I don't see a figure. Oh, sorry, was there a figure in the base? No, there wasn't. There wasn't.
No.
I don't think so. Sorry, I was getting a bit confused because Sentinel came with a figure in the base, and I was like trying to quickly scrounge up all the information about what all the old HasLabs looked like.
Right.
And this one, does that? I mean, if they give you 4 figures or 3 figures, would you rather pay $350 to $400 for that? Or would you rather pay $200 for this? I think the answer is obvious, but maybe I'm just insane.
Well, when it comes to the HasLabs, right, you got to look at Sentinel, Galactus. We're both on a bit more of the pricey side. Now, you can think about that as they gave you a lot more with it in terms of additional figures. And we all know that when they do these, the full pricing that you pay. So if they're charging $350, that's the cost of that giant figure you're getting and every stretch goal that's announced.
Yes,
it's all factored into that core cost. So when you don't hit,
I heard as well.
Yeah, when you don't hit your stretch goals, you're actually getting less value, which is kind of a bummer.
Yes.
So I kind of appreciate that with this one, it's much cheaper. We're looking at a $200 HasLab, which some people can look at as being a bit more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
And they've pretty much released all the figures that you would kind of associate with this version of Giant Man. Now, I still felt like we could have gotten a Wasp out of it, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as, I never really think of Giant Man or Ant-Man on their own. I often think about Hank Pym and Janet Pym as a team, Ant-Man and Wasp, or Giant Man. So I mean, like, they've got a lot of the other Avengers of this era already out, available at retail. There wasn't a whole lot you could pack in as far as the extra figures went. Whereas, like, with the Sentinel, well, it's easy to throw on a couple of X-Men. With Galactus, who is he without his heralds?
Yes, the 3 heralds, and so the one thing sorry, go ahead. I'll just put the next slide, but okay. So here's the thing, right? And as far as the price is concerned, the reason why I think 200 is, and I got to be really careful how I say this, why it makes more sense. I'm not saying it's necessarily well priced because I don't know what goes on in the boardroom there. Is that here's a Titan class transformer, and this is directly off Big Bad Toy Store, and it's listed as 23.5 inches. And that's in the robot mode, which I kind of think I don't really care for this robot mode. I knew the Transformers Nemesis as this shuttle right here, not so much as being this robot right here. But with it being 23.5 inches tall, this is and being $200, basically almost the size, almost the height of Giant Man. And let's be very clear, there's a lot more tooling and engineering by miles, by leaps and bounds. No one needs to educate me on Transformers as far as tooling and engineering is concerned. I get it. Right? With Marvel, there's the licensing fee. So where's the sort of like break-even point? Is it any of our business where the break-even point is? But either way, either one of two things happens. Either you start thinking, hey, maybe they could do a Giant Man at retail, because this is at retail. These Titan class Transformers are at retail. Is this the first foray into, okay, HasLab was an experiment. Now we can throw this stuff at retail. Maybe, who knows? The box for Giant Man, I don't know if it's going to be as big as Galactus or what,
Right.
because the boxes are really big, right? Like when I look at the box for a Titan class Transformer, for whatever reason, they're smaller than the boxes for Galactus and Sentinel. So, and yes, Kayla Silva, I know that might be a little too big for anyone. And yeah, Ted Darkclaw from Helidope. Obviously, they do need the they need the win. They're 2 for 3, which is technically not bad, but their loss was such a face plant,
Right.
that it,
Yeah.
I mean,
And Ring of Vengeance, it hit hard. You know, like in terms of, okay, was this the right direction? You know, when you think of scale, and like you're saying, when you're talking about bringing it to retail, would a Galactus really move at retail without supporting media? Would a Sentinel move at retail without supporting media? And now, granted, most of these are, again, they're aimed at the adult collector. These ones are not aimed at a kid. Nobody's signing up for a crowdfund project to get little Timmy their Christmas present.
That's right.
I mean, would it be cool? Hell yeah, it would. And I'm sure that kid would love it. He'd definitely be the talk at school, but they're not going in to get this for a kid. This is definitely for the adult collector. Is there enough of a market to merit bringing it to retail? Where, granted, they're probably going to sit for the most part. You wouldn't really see too much. So, that's where the direct-to-consumer method works.
Yeah.
For the adult collector, it's the best way.
And I believe what's happening there is it's just someone who's passionate about it, whether it's Daniel and Ryan Ting or whomever, and they're just sort of like, hey, in order to get this through our management, get them to buy in, they want it to be a HasLab. If that's the only way, well, then let's go through that method. Yeah. Does it make it right? I'm by principle and morals, I'm not 100% sure, but it kind of, I've often said this before, it depends on what's the first filter in your head. Is the first filter in your head, is that the right model? Or is the first filter in your head, do I need this in my collection? You know what I mean? Unfortunately, guiltishly for me, and maybe it makes me a bad person, but when I backed the Sky Striker, the 3 3/4 inch, and the classified Dragonfly, for whatever reason, my first thought in my head was, do I want this in my collection? That's what happened. Right. And now I'm talking about 2 HasLabs that were actually pretty reasonably priced, because if you're looking at the Dragonfly, and 4 figures coming with it, and you're looking at the Sky Striker, which the last stretch goal did not unlock, but then they threw in some bonus figures midway through the campaign, so all of a sudden it made a bit more sense, right? So maybe I'm picking the wrong ones there, and I should be picking on Engine of Vengeance or something like that. But what I really wanted to do was basically talk about spotting the trends. And yes, I've turned the lights off to save a little bit of battery for tomorrow as well, since this is going to be more of a screen heavy. This is going to be more of a screen heavy TKO than usual, because Oz, a lot of the times I just talk and I don't prep a lot of slides, because I always say that I'm not really a live stream channel, even though I stream live every single week, and I'm like, I'm not really a live stream channel. It's like that person that says I'm on a diet, but because that's me. I'm always on a diet, except I'm always eating junk food. So yeah, anyway,
seafood diet. Seafood, I eat it.
There we go. Seafood, salmon. Right. So when you're looking at Giant Man, as far as the Build-A-Figure was concerned, if you recall, this was actually a Walmart exclusive back in 2006. And these were the figures you needed to get with it. Now, I can't remember. I mean, it shows 11 figures here, but I'm pretty sure that there were 9 parts, because Sentry came with a variant and Wolverine Age of Apocalypse version came with a variant. Now, this is, again, for any Marvel Legends experts out there, this is testing my memory, because it was 17 years ago, and I've largely got out, like, I by and large, but not entirely gotten out of Marvel Legends, if that makes sense. And I remember with this being a Walmart exclusive, it was very difficult to track it down. And I ended up getting the whole wave
at Walmart at this time. And it was hard even as an employee, because although I wasn't collecting Marvel Legends, I was just admiring them. a buddy of mine who we used to work with, Murphy, he was all about the Wolverine characters. If there was a version of Wolverine, because even back then you still had like a Wolverine every wave kind of mentality. Well, Toy Biz knew they invented the Wolverine with every wave, but still,
Yes. Just like
you know,
Batman with every wave in McFarlane.
right. I thought
Sorry,
every
Alice is not here. Otherwise she'd be
update us on the count, right? So, with that being said, when these boxes came through, we were looking to make sure and see, okay, is the variant here? Is the variant here? Because they were slim packed. Wasn't a guarantee it was coming in every box.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
absolutely.
I don't remember seeing all of these figures come in at that time.
And I remember one of them, it was either the left hand or the right hand was short packed. The figure that came in was short packed. And I remember somebody I know actually reproed it. And and they were just making repros here locally. And at the time I was like, you're doing us a service, you know what I mean? And it worked out okay. Now that was at the time. And there's a few great questions in here. Is this reasonably priced, or are we so used to overpriced offerings it seems reasonable in comparison? That's why I pulled up the Titan class Transformer, which again, for anyone tuning in late, I understand there's a lot more engineering, but that's Hasbro's internal property versus a licensing fee, which again, I don't know the break-even point. I'm just saying there's two counterpoints there that kind of hope to converge at the same thing. And then, yeah, see, there we go. I was actually going to bring this up earlier. Samuel Cassio. I actually don't recognize your name, but this is actually a really great point. Giant Man HasLab reminds me of Transformers Deathsaurus and Victory Saber HasLabs. This price point and backer count is the sweet spot. Now, Victory Saber was $180. And what I always tell people is that Commander class Transformers, because there's the different size classes, right? You know, there's the Deluxe, there's the Voyager, the Leader, the Commander, and the Titan, right? With the Nemesis being the Titan class. This Victory Saber, because it consists of Star Saber and Victory Leo. When I looked at them, Victory Leo could easily be a commander class, which is $90. Victory Leo could be either a leader class or a commander class. If you consider it a commander class, they're both $90. 90 plus 90 is 180. You hit the sweet spot and you got stretch goals. Even if you consider Victory Leo as a leader class, so he should be closer to $60, you still have the stretch goals, the mini cons that were included. You hit the sweet spot there. Deathsaurus, I struggle a bit, but he did come with a pretty sweet throne. So I think they were just trying to match the price of Victory Saber. But if he was overpriced relative to Victory Saber, it was pretty minimal, which I'm not saying is a good thing, but I'm saying at least it's not way overpriced. So, and I actually have some thoughts about what the next. I don't know what the next Transformers HasLab's going to be, but I'm thinking they're either going to, if they're deep cutting an 89, like they were last 2 years, they may go to 1990 and go with the Zone Leader then, which was Diatlas. Or they're going to go with a combiner, like an overseas combiner, also from 89, like, what's his name? Leo Kaiser.
Oh, wow.
These are really, really deep cuts, but they make sense as HasLabs because they're extremely deep cuts. Like, look, I had to try to think of the name because I don't talk about these characters every day. Right. So, but I was going to speculate a bit about Transformers later on, but Samuel brings up this really good point right over here. Yeah. See, there we go. Reasonably priced. Two things come to mind. K-Dawg, Matryoshka style Giant Man. He could vary in sizes. It would be innovative.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
And a variant. Yeah. Yep. That would be. So, I mean, these were all the characters you had to buy back in the day to get Giant Man. Now, I'm not saying that. I mean, pricing back then was what, $15 a figure?
Yeah, it was. Right? It was in the realm of $13 to $15 per figure.
Right. So 13 plus tax is 15. 15 no taxes. Okay. Well, either way. So let's just say 15 a figure. You need 9 figures. That's $135 to get a smaller Giant Man.
Yeah, because he was only
6.
It was what, 13, 14 inches, I think? were the
Yes.
size of the Build-A-Figure at the time? Yeah.
Yeah. They were. I want to say Sentinel was 16 and Giant Man was a bit shorter. He was, I think, 14.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, you were also getting a figure, so it's not like it's $135 for Giant Man. It's 135, and you get you get 9 figures. Giant Man, of course, you're adding 17 years of inflation on top of that, and you're not getting as big of a Giant Man, and no alternate face sculpts. Again, not saying that makes it better. Just laying out the facts in the playing field.
Yeah. If you were gonna do that as a comparison for today.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking $25 a figure now.
Yes.
On the cheap side, $25 a figure.
Times 9.
Times 9.
So $225.
So we're already over the cost of what it would be to purchase.
You are
cost Giant Man for
but
me.
Mind you, so you would be getting the 9 figures for $25 more, using air quotes here. But you probably wouldn't be getting as big of a Giant Man. So it's like, where's the sweet spot?
Right. That's the next key. It wouldn't be a 24-inch Giant Man. It would be 13, 14 inches. You know, again, it's going to be in that range. It's not going to be this Hulk of age.
And I should probably mention that these photos are from StockX, just so you know. This photo is from StockX, and then one of the next photos I'm going to bring up is from Action Figure 411, just so I've given appropriate credit where it's due. Yeah. And okay, so this is where I wanted to speculate. Actually, hold on. Did I screw up? No. Okay. This is where I wanted to go next with this, right? Speculation being what it is, right? Apocalypse.
Yep.
I'm thinking that if you're following the trend, you've got Sentinel, you've got Galactus, you've got Giant Man. This guy makes sense in 2024, does he not?
A bit, yeah. I mean, again, following the trend of what works. So they tried doing their normal 6-inch figure with a vehicle. You know, works well with G.I. Joe. Works very well. We've seen 2 very successful HasLabs for vehicles with a 6-inch figure. Tried it with the Marvel team. People weren't going for it. There's a whole lot of other stuff to get into with that and why it didn't work. But the giant figure seems to work. And if you can make it a little cheaper and a little reasonable, and who knows, maybe Hasbro was thinking about the fact of, all right, people just backed the Dragonfly. People just backed the the Ghost. That just finished up. Now we're going into Marvel territory. Can we get another $300 or more HasLab out of it? With what they're offering for this, again, the $200 price range seems to be a real sweet spot here. It makes sense that the next giant scale figure, and again, if you want to play it safe too, because there are several giant figures within the Marvel universe that they could do that aren't so safe.
Mm-hmm.
Like Living Tribunal comes to mind if you're into the cosmic.
Way deep cut there.
Yeah,
I remember him when in the Marvel versus DC run, because at the very end of the last issue, he fought with Spectre.
Oh man, between him, my first introduction to the Living Tribunal is another Marvel deep cut when it comes to comics. Rom Space Knight.
I can't even picture what Rom Space Knight looks like.
Oh man, silver armor. He was actually his own little toy too. Not Marvel time. But Apocalypse makes sense to go into the next one because he does have that tendency to transform in size. You can get a really lot of cool accessories too, because he also has this ability to like change out his hands, make his own kind of weapons and stuff like that. There are a lot of things here.
Look, man. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Finish up your thought.
With an Apocalypse in the future, we can see that return to maybe a higher priced one, because whenever you think of the Apocalypse character, much like when you think of Galactus, you have his 4 horsemen.
Bam! When I was about to cut you off, that's exactly what I was going to say. Archangel in the base tier, and the other 3 in the stretch goals.
That's right. Yeah,
there
absolutely.
you go.
And
now, hopefully that with the 4 figures, hopefully it's closer to the Dragonfly price than it is to the Engine of Vengeance price. And I kind of feel like, well, first off, that's an amazing thought, Oz. Have the 4 horsemen included.
Yeah, and those are your stretch goals. Put them in there as the stretch goals. The question is, which version of the 4 horsemen do we go? Because he has had different horsemen over the years, with some characters representing multiple 4 horsemen. I mean, do you get a death version of Wolverine? Or are we going to get maybe a Caliban in there instead? What about a Gambit? Or are we going to stick with the lesser heard of mutants that he altered and amped up?
I like the ones in the animated series. I don't know about you.
Those were always really cool. Again, those were some of my main introductions. Seeing Apocalypse and his 4 horsemen in the animated series, then going back and finding back issues of this amazing character, which at the time was a lot easier because it wasn't 40 years down the line. Now, if you go back and you try to find older issues of Apocalypse stuff, it tends to be a little pricier. But there's a lot of ways you could go with doing an Apocalypse with versions of the 4 horsemen. I think you do the deep cut 4 horsemen. I mean, Archangel is his story as the Archangel is very synonymous with Apocalypse. And I think that would be a big, you definitely do it in the base, with the base of it. And then you put others as a stretch goal. But you could also release his other horsemen, the more popular ones that have a better chance to stand at their own, at retail.
Probably.
And if you release it at retail around the same time the HasLabs going on, it's a really cool way to market. Like, hey guys, we're giving you all these horsemen right now. Why don't you go check out this HasLab we're doing, where you can get a huge Apocalypse and additional horsemen.
Fin Fang Foom. Actually completely forgot about this one, but that's a great idea.
That's where I was going to say, like, you could again start looking towards that future a little bit more, especially when you're talking Fin Fang Foom. The Fantastic Four come to mind very frequently.
Yes.
And that would be really cool as them to be, because when it's a Disney property, there's a lot of times it seems to be that they time these HasLabs with something that they have going on within their media. So maybe you pull a Fin Fang Foom out when we're going to finally get a Fantastic Four movie or something. I'd be
something
down
like that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, now that Marvel Studios can do Fantastic Four movies again. And these were the 6 figures you needed to get Apocalypse. That's why I'm flashing that up. That's just from a random eBay auction. And then to kind of just round things out, like, this is what you got. This is from Action Figure 411. This is what you got for this is what you needed for Galactus.
Yep.
Right. And Bullseye was a chase. Like, there was a chase version and a regular version that was packed in with the same Build-A-Figure piece. I remember it quite well back then. And then Sentinel, I remember hunting this one down pretty heavily back in the day. And there were 2 versions of Cyclops as well. But this is one where I liked this wave a lot because I wanted Omega Red, Mystique, Warren Worthington, Sinister, some version of Spider-Man. Even though it's an older Amazing Fantasy version of him. Cyclops, obviously, I prefer the Jim Lee version and not this one. Right. Again, this is from Stock X. This photo's from Stock X. And but it was a Cyclops that I had to fill my collection because the Jim Lee ones were either impossible to find at the time or they were just in the X-Men Classics line. And Black Panther, who I wasn't super familiar with at the time. But obviously, over the years that's gone by, he's been somebody that they it's gotten more popular. Now that's what I had for screens, but I want to bring in somebody else who has some thoughts on this particular stream, and we're going to simulcast bringing her in here as well as here.
Morning. Good morning, Ken and Oz. How's it going, guys?
It's going great. Glad to have you joining us.
Of course. Sorry I'm popping in late. I've been running around all morning. So,
You know what, Lily? Me putting up this stream an hour ago and just
Yeah.
dropping it into one of our chat groups is just kind of like, that's on me. That's not on you, right?
it's all good.
Yeah,
I
and you know what?
want to
Yeah,
support you guys whenever I can. So.
you know, it's funny because, like, you know, when you, me, and Mega J went on to talk about the Dragonfly stretch goals, right? It was at like 4:30 p.m. on like a Tuesday. For whatever reason, that's a much better time for everyone. I'm not sure why. Maybe because
I
it's
know,
like right after work on the West Coast and right after dinner on the East Coast. I'm
Dinner.
not really sure if that's what it is, right? Like, obviously these times work better for me, but that only had almost 80 people watching, which is really high for this channel. And I'm like, that one I also announced with an hour's notice, and I just sent the stream to you and about 4 other people to try to jump on. So
Absolutely.
I'm, you know, like maybe these impromptu streams at the right time actually work. You know, obviously right now on the West Coast, people are still waking up, and on the East Coast, they're like, screw you, Ken, it's lunchtime. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, how do you feel about all this?
So you're talking the new Marvel HasLab, right?
And speculation on
coming in.
Apocalypse. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, you jumped in cold. What am I doing? I didn't prep you before this. Normally I at least send you some show notes
what
or
we're
something.
talking about.
Yeah. We could have just pivoted and talked G.I. Joe Classified or Motu Origins, and you'd have just been right at home. Which I see a Snake Mountain behind you.
I was gonna say.
Sorry, wrong way. There is a Snake Mountain box behind me, and the few figures that I have left that have come to my house since I've packed up everything. So I haven't been able to set up the Snake Mountain because, as you know, I'm moving. But it makes a nice backdrop, at least for people to enjoy. And this box came like ultra minty, so I'm trying to be careful with it.
But you got to open it anyway. So how minty can you leave it?
I know, but at least the box is in nice condition, like the artwork, and it's not dented. And
I was gonna say I've seen some people with some dented ones. I even saw one with a hole in it, and that actually hurt. That hurt.
Yes, absolutely. And I was lucky because it came from Amazon, and I was like, "Wow, guys, it actually made it here in nice condition." But I will carefully open the tape on the side, remove the contents when I'm ready, and then just close it back up, and I have a nice box for display.
Use a little can of compressed air, freeze the tape so you can peel it back, open it up real nice, and then reseal it as it warms up.
Yeah, I don't need to go through all that, but
oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna cut it. I'm
portion.
gonna, like nicely slice it, as long as the box is in good condition, because it's such beautiful artwork.
So
did you guys get Snake Mountain?
I didn't.
Got it on the way.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed it'll show up within this month.
Oh, okay. Amazon has it in stock right now, actually.
They do. My wallet doesn't have it in stock.
That's true.
You hear that in the chat, though? Everyone can go get the Snake Mountain right now. So, Sorceress, how do you feel about the Giant Man, the price and the figure, and is Apocalypse on the way in 2024?
So the Giant Man is a slightly deeper cut than most of the more mainline, a little bit, right? Than most of your mainline, like Captain America, Spider-Man, Iron Man, your like mainline Marvel characters. So it was a little bit of a curveball. $200 for like a big action figure without any additional unlocked tiers of figures and just some faceplates. I think it's like, to me, my initial reaction was like, meh.
Yeah, and it's a 10,000 and it's a 10,000 order minimum, right? Which I think they'll make it.
Oh, definitely.
But I also have this feeling like if people don't get the stretch goals, they're not going to be too choked.
Not as much. Yeah, I don't see people getting outraged that they didn't get the scroll head. I don't see. Maybe some people might be a little upset they don't get a zombie Giant Man to go with that awesome zombie wave they just did a little bit back because of the What If series, but it's not one of the strongest with the stretch goals. I'll put it that way. The stretch goals seem a little but I do like the idea of the price, and I like the idea of the smaller count to succeed.
So you're saying the stretch goals aren't as cool as Glenda, if I heard you correctly. Sorry.
Nothing's as cool as Glenda, Ken.
I was gonna say
Glenda's become my word
from me. you know, no stretch goal will be as cool as Glenda ever.
Yeah. Glenda was 1 in a million. Absolutely.
I need like a Glenda poster now. You know.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
deep
I'll have
cut
to work on that.
overseas
Ken,
character.
maybe we can come up with a graphic for you and turn it into a poster.
Actually, yeah, because you did a bang up job on the Delta 17 graphic a few weeks back, and Steve loved it, right? So, which by the way, I know it's not a Delta stream, but he sent me photos from the factory recently, which I'm not authorized to share, and he shared a very low res video. I don't know if that was on purpose. I'm like, this isn't even 144p, Steve, and he's like, yeah, but look, it's in production, and I'm like, I know. All right, I'm gonna take my mind off of it for now because too excited. So
you look so excited, Ken, about it.
Reason for excitement.
That's awesome. Oh, can I say one thing? I wanted to wish my awesome partner Michael a very happy birthday. It's his birthday today. He's celebrating with his family. It's his birthday.
Cheers.
So happy birthday, Michael.
Cheers,
And
Toy
I'll
Habits.
be on later this afternoon with a good friend, Daniel, who is from Soundtracks from Birdman, who will be filling in because Michael's having a fun time with his family away for the weekend, but just wanted to wish him a happy birthday since I had
Dreadnought Ryan's birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday to him from Island the Misfit Toy Collectors. He's and Matthew Comstock, who's been on this channel a few times, his birthday's in a few days. So
happy birthday to all of you guys.
Anyway, it's
I mean, if we're going around those, you know, one of my partners and co-host Skelly, it's his birthday week as well. So happy birthday to him too. Shout out everybody.
Birthday to him too. That's awesome.
September's a good month. The weather cools a little bit. A lot of birthday gifts to buy. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Apocalypse 2024, or is it 2025 we're looking? I don't know.
It's gotta be coming. You know,
no matter what, right? I want it.
Yeah. So Sorceress, you missed it. What I was trying to do was follow the trend of the previous Toy Biz Marvel Legends Build-A-Figures. They weren't in the exact same order. Like in the Toy Biz era, they went with Galactus first, then Sentinel, not the other way around. At that time, Robbie Reyes did not exist as a character. It did not come along till 2014. So there was no Engine of Vengeance. It's not to say we didn't get a Danny Ketch or a Johnny Blaze just as a regular character with a bike. And then came Apocalypse, and then came Giant Man. Actually, 2005 was a great year for Build-A-Figures because you started the year with Galactus, then Sentinel, then Apocalypse, and then Giant Man, the Walmart exclusive, came in 2006. So that's why I'm just trying to read the tea leaves right now. And because it's the 60th year of Marvel, of the Avengers, I should say, that's probably why. That's what I heard. That's the reason why they did Giant Man this time. So I don't know.
That retro line, because they went back to doing all of the more retro styled Avengers in the current line of Marvel figures, and you know, you want to get Giant Man out there. Of course,
absolutely.
Still a shame that maybe they should have also given us, because there isn't a Ant-Man in there. Would have been nice. That could have been a nice base figure to throw in. Ant-Man riding a giant. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, they should have put in 1 or 2 figures with it as stretch goals, because you've got this giant figure and you want something instant display. I'm sure you have a ton of Marvel Legend figures to put with it, but something that's unique and special to this HasLab, instant display, he can be holding on with his hands or whatever it is. Just something cool to excite people to add to it, and you would be the only one exclusive with that figure because you got the HasLab.
And they could use existing tooling for that. Is my initial thought.
You can use some shared tooling. There's nothing wrong with it. Maybe a different head sculpt, but shared tooling.
Absolutely.
Easy enough to do.
Absolutely. So, yeah, but that's basically what we wanted to touch on. What we wanted to touch on today, and we were talking earlier, and Oz had that great idea that if you do Apocalypse next, the Horsemen, the 4 Horsemen, right? 1 in the base tier, probably Warren Worthington, and then 3 stretch goals.
Yeah, like Corn Boy. Oh wait, different Horseman.
I was waiting for that. And the 4th tier is, say, Sir Jeremy Gerard, actually there's a Sir Gerard here somewhere from Mythic Legions. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, actually that's true. The Sentinel and Galactus blew way past their last stretch goal.
It definitely helps with that.
Yeah.
But the Sentinel came with a bunch of figures, which made it awesome.
Which is what Apocalypse would do. So I don't know. Right. All right, Wilhelm, thanks. Always good to hear from you. I wonder if you're doing your stream tomorrow then, Will. But anyway. All right then. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, see, I'm not good with speculation streams. Throw me I don't know, like throw me an encyclopedia on toy history and I'll just read it start to finish on a stream. That's what I'm good at.
What do you guys think of maybe pivoting from something different, from giant figures to some cool play sets that we probably would never get? Like, what about an X-Men Danger Room or something like that? Right?
Somebody mentioned that earlier in the chat. Yes.
Yeah.
We are now getting into like retro X-Men 97, which is really awesome. I loved the cartoon in 94, I guess it was, or 93.
Yeah. Well, 92 to 97, so 94 was like the peak.
For X-Men. Yeah. How cool would that be as an awesome HasLab project?
I'd love
Avengers Quinjet.
Right. There are plenty of projects that they could do outside of the giant figures. That just happens to be what's working. And they might be a little gun shy of doing a vehicle because of, Engine of Engines. But let's face it, though.
The playset's different.
Playset is really something we know. We're not getting a Marvel Legends playset in retail ever. So that is a project that would be a dream. And who wouldn't love putting that HasLab Sentinel inside of a Danger Room simulation? Now, I'm not saying you got to build the Danger Room to scale with the Sentinel. That'd be ridiculous. But, just something base with nothing covering the top. It would be cool to see. I'd love to have that. Or, big shout out back to the Toy Biz days. That old... Was that the training room or whatever? I can't even remember what it was called.
You're talking the 90s. You're talking the 90s Toy Biz, right? That had an X-Men training center or training room of some sort.
It wasn't even just the X-Men. It had the spot for Spider-Man to climb on, like the very old school Marvel playset that had a little thing that used each of the action features from figures that were out that time. Something for the Thing or the Hulk to break through. You had that little spot where Silver Surfer and Iceman could ride their boards over, so it made sense. There was climbing parts for Nightcrawler.
Recreate like Spidey and his amazing friends, like their room, like with the flipped up computer, the little living room as part of it.
Yeah, I mean, something like that, a little throwback like that would be an amazing thing to see as a HasLab. And honestly, I'm kind of hoping we get some type of... Now, I'm not talking NECA Turtles Lair. We've all talked that to death. None of us are too crazy.
Toy Lair.
It would have been cool if it was like $150, and then we would have been like, okay, give me like 2 of them, and I'll set up like, the living room and like, their bedroom or like, Donatello's lab or whatever it is that you wanted to do. But $300 for that one with no lid on it. Yeah.
When they first announced that they were going to be doing the Turtles Lair diorama pieces, we know there's 2 more pieces coming that are still going to cost. It's like killing me that's 300. Right. Minimum $500.
900.
Yeah, 900. There you go. Yeah, because if they're doing 300 for each section, that's going to kill everybody, and nobody wants that.
Nope.
So,
I think Oz is working on something. I saw him working on something with Hatter. I don't know.
You never know what I'm working on.
Cross our fingers. That would be really cool.
We certainly need to see some more.
Daily Bugle would be awesome, right? Daily Bugle playset with the big globe on the top. You have Spidey scaling the side of the building. You flip it around. There's a whole world going on behind it.
Yeah, several levels within. That would be perfect.
And if that succeeds,
you get like a Jonah Jameson exclusive figure who's like shaking his fist at like Peter Pan.
Him with Robbie and Betty Brant, yeah, give us the whole Daily Bugle office team. Let's do it, folks.
That would be awesome. I mean, they're making Spider-Mans like crazy. They're churning out like we had like one Spider-Man in like so long, and then all of a sudden it's like every version of Spider-Man you could ever want. They're just like cranking them out. So now where are you going to put Spidey? He needs a building to climb on.
Yeah, and if that works, what about suddenly McFarlane goes and says, "Let's do a Daily Planet."
That would be
then
awesome.
I can,
That would be so cool. I would love that.
Give me a HasLab of the Firehouse Ghostbusters, because they're just sitting on it, not doing shit. Sorry, a little angry. There's no Ghostbusters right now.
But you know, if McFarlane did a Daily Planet, it would be affordable. It would be retail, and it would be affordable to all of us because somehow Todd's able to get it done.
It's called no shareholders. He don't got to be beholden to anybody but himself and his employees. He prices things reasonably for that, and he puts out his decent work. I can't complain about what Todd's doing. I mean I can, but it's all mine.
Batman 66 diorama sets are $30, and they're fairly nice. They do the job. Yeah. Nice enough little environment to set up your figures. So why not?
Oh man, that Batcave 66 was awesome.
I know, I have it. It's great. It's great.
See, now we just pivoted right to DC. I love it. I love it. It helps that I'm in the middle of Justice League Snyder Cut right now.
Now that you're talking DC, Ken, you just like open up a can of worms. What about a freaking McFarlane Superpowers Hall of Justice playset?
Well, if you go Hall of Justice, then we need a Hall of Doom too. Why not?
We need the Legion of Doom with like the whole skull with the like moss like coming off the top of it and everything.
It's got to go both. You can't just do one or the other.
And he has to come with like a Solomon Grundy or something like exclusive figure, which we really
Vandal Savage coming with it. Absolutely. Let's get it.
Yep.
Come on, Todd. I know you're watching. This is what people are telling you we want. We want a Hall of Justice.
I don't put it past him. I don't put it past
him. If Todd's watching right now, I'd be really glad.
He's gonna announce it like 2 seconds from now. Or it's gonna show up in retail and then a week later.
JLA Watchtower. You see what we just did here?
See, we've pivoted completely into a whole nother era that's a conversation we all really need to get into at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be a dream come true. Either one of those playsets for the Superpowers line. Yes. I mean, he's making incredible vehicles, and they're totally affordable. Why not make a playset for that super successful line? I mean, he brought back freaking Superpowers. We haven't had that since we were kids, and I can't believe like the line is now going. We're on wave 5 with much more to come, and just like the sky's the limit on that one. So
yeah, he's not slowing down with it. We're still getting new stuff. And again, there's some minor gripes, but overall, I never thought I'd see the day Superpowers was hanging back up on the shelf.
I know.
I didn't really think I'd see the day that Masters Universe would be hanging back up on the shelf either. So, I mean, last couple of years have been full of shocks, and it's an amazing time to be a toy collector. The toy renaissance.
Bam! I was going to say that right there.
I did not buy a vintage Snake Mountain all these years on purpose because I always holding out that Mattel was going to come out with one for Origins, and I'm glad I did.
Well, the handcuffs on the original one, they never come intact. And let's say you do get one intact. You pay a premium. You pay a premium. You're moving it one day, it snaps.
Yep.
Well, I almost would rather have them broken off, but included. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 3-4 years ago, when I was talking to Connor about having He-Man toys, like, I never pictured that when we were talking about it then, and I looked at it and I was like, nope, that in the next few years, not only would I be collecting the whole line, that I would have a Grayskull, that Snake Mountain's on the way, that there's a Point Dread that goes with my Castle Grayskull so I can feel like it's complete, that speaking of back to crowdfunding a little bit, that we got a fan vote going on now for additional play sets and vehicles, most of which had never seen the actual toy aisle. I mean, that's pretty good topic to kind of shift to, is this vote for the next crowdfund. You get 2 choices.
I want to tell you, because the fan vote they're not advertising or showing what the current vote is turning out, right? So we don't have a clue.
Right.
It's hidden. But we did do an unofficial poll on toyhabits.com. Now we already have over 600 votes on the poll, which is a great sampling of where the vote is going, and we are going to talk about it on our stream today at 4:00. So if you want to see what the vote might be trending on Mattel's website as well, this is going to be a nice little indicator, and we'll talk about it later. I'm going to hold on to that for this afternoon's
I'm not going to let you reveal too much then. I'm going to tell people, you got to go watch Toy Habits later today to get that idea. I know what my votes are. I was going to keep it to myself really until later tonight, and then I got coaxed into talking about it on a live stream the other day. If people caught that was actually on Kenzo's Creations and Eternium Royalties. They did a quick IG live that I jumped in after Toy Frenzy the other night, and then they asked about it. So I was like, all right, I'll be direct. But I think it's great they got some, Fright Zone. It could be on the way. I'm really thinking that one's going to be one that
gets. If you're interested and you don't want to wait till 4, head over to toyhabits.com. You can cast your actual official vote, because we do have a link there. But right underneath it, we do have our unofficial poll. So if you cast a vote on that, and the page will refresh, and it's going to show you where the poll is as of now, as far as our unofficial poll is, and that's going to give you a good indication where the vote's going for Mattel.
I'll be listening to yours from the road at 4 p.m. there, but I always love catching, at least a chunk of the stream that you've got on Toy Habits. It's like one of the things where, like, if I want my toy news, that's what I always tell everyone. You want toy news? Toy Habits, Mega J, Sunday Toy Geeks. Like, there's a lot of news type there, right? That's why I like to stick to more, like, when I can pivot the conversation to something like, deep diving back into the Toy Biz era or something like that. Take the conversation there, and then we come back for our news from here.
I absolutely love, just like it's my enjoyable downtime when I can sit down and watch one of your awesome history videos, your retrospectives, and I enjoy them so much, Ken. And it's so nostalgic, and they take me back, and it's like a wonderful joy to just sit there and just watch your videos. So the ones you've been doing.
Oz, just because I've already flashed up the thumbnail on the Patreon, should I just publicly tell everyone what I'm working on right now, which might not come out for a little while, but I'm thinking I might just have to tell people what my deep project is right now.
Wow, that's awesome. That is probably my favorite year right there. 1980.
Yeah. This is the thumbnail that's winning right now, because I put up more than one thumbnail as a poll for the Patreon right now. That's the thumbnail that's currently winning the so if it comes up with a different thumbnail.
Yeah, favorites in that year. Period.
Like the line hit its stride in 84. They were just on fire that year.
And the unfortunate thing is I don't have every vehicle in the range, right? But thankfully there's first off, Sorceress, you've got some boxed art for Toy Habits, but I've also been using stuff from 3D Joe's just for turnarounds.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
Right? So yeah, see, everyone loves 1984. Right.
Yeah. That was great.
So many of the best figures, or memorable figures. I don't want to say best figures, memorable figures of the line hit 84.
Well, look, just on the thumbnail, you got Roadblock, Firefly, Baroness, Storm Shadow, Zartan, Spirit, and the carded version of Duke. I understand, for anyone who wants to know that, who's curious, Duke was a mail away the year before, but he was a carded version that year. And then there was a mail away hooded Cobra Commander. You see how I put 7 figures in the thumbnail?
Yes.
In the draft thumbnail, and I still didn't include hooded Cobra Commander, and there was no room to put a Rattler flying or a whale floating. Imagine that's how stacked that year was.
Right?
And in fact, I actually think that the lineup for 84 was better than 85, even though you got Quick Kick and you got Flint and you got Lady J and you got Keel Hall. But people remember 85 because of the flag. That's why.
Yeah.
So Rick, grab the link, jump on. If we are ramping down, we'll ramp. We still have we can ramp down in 20 to 40 minutes. Doesn't really matter how much time. For me, Oh, sorry. I thought you said GI Joe is number 1 here. He's talking about GI Joe number 11 in the
I
what
got
do
my
you call
new
it?
GI Joe watch band on today. Just in,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
I can't
funny.
flip it on the screen. There you go.
There it
It's
is.
when I first started collecting toys again as an adult, I couldn't actually find other GI Joe collectors to collect with. And it was weird because now all I talk about, like everyone I talk to is into GI Joe right now. It's like the number 1 thing. Whereas before, it was like a ghost town. In my local area, everyone was into Transformers, right?
Really?
So yeah. So it was hard to find Joe collectors, but then that's also why the Joe Fest community is so tight knit, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great
But
fun to be a toy collector.
absolutely. So God, we pivoted away. I mean, look, I've covered everything I want to cover as far as Marvel and this HasLab is concerned. Again, that was another thing we talked about before you jumped on Sorceress. Was the $200 price point? Is that a sweet spot? Another thing.
Absolutely, it is, because once you get
I might
over
have asked you
200,
that
that's when it starts to hurt people.
Yeah.
But like 199, that's like mentally it feels better, I guess, if you want to call it that. Just that
Ace
even
was
that
pointing that out last night.
Yes, absolutely.
Pointing that out last night. They put 300 on that thing. We'd all be like, "Oh, it's this mental."
It's a mental thing. Yeah.
Anywhere it would have been too much.
Yeah, and this is interesting. We got 2 people commuting in their cars. I think somebody just finished an appointment. Hope you got a lot of data from the road.
Yeah, man. Oz, Oz is pulling it up, so I'm like, all right, let me hang out in the car. What's going on, folks?
Hey, why not? Yeah, we can all stream on the road. This is important stuff. Toys are important things.
I did this once on Toy Habits, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't you drive home while you're on the live stream?
I turned the camera off.
Somehow.
Yeah, I turned the camera off. I didn't want anyone to think I was doing anything dangerous, because like if I even look at the camera at a red light, people are gonna be like, "Oh, that's dangerous." So I just listened the whole time. So any images I didn't look at, and then when I finally pulled over, I was able to just stare at the screen. I did that once on Geek Dad Life too. I think for one of the Dragonfly discussions, I did that because we had multiple Dragonfly discussions.
Yeah.
I sent you some pictures earlier.
Accessories last week, man. I gotta tell you. When I
sent you some pictures earlier.
I got killed with the stump that John.
Oh, I didn't make it that far in the stream. I didn't get killed.
It was horrible.
I didn't get killed because
I was like, I don't know what the hell this stuff is.
So
you did good, Ken. You did good.
2 weeks before you were on. Lily, 2 weeks before I was on, but do you know who it was? The reason why I did okay coming out of the gate is you get the first Stump John right. You get some confidence. But do you know who sent the first Stump Ken that night? Brick. And Brick sent it. And he, as a joke,
throw him a softball? Something like
he montaged a bunch of Delta 17 photos, and Jay is like, identify this. And I'm like, at that point, you may as well throw Bret Hart with sunglasses on and just be like, identify this person. Wrong answers only at that point. And then I gained some confidence, and I think I went 2 for 3 because of that.
Oh, good for you. I think I got 1 out of. I think they gave me like 4 or something.
But you know what? John himself gets stumped pretty badly, so don't even worry about it. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all good.
Sorry, Brick. Were you trying to say something?
Can you hear me? Okay, or
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say it could have gone really badly. Part of me was like, "Oh, this will be fun," but part of me was like, "But what if he actually doesn't get it? What if he's confused?" So that's why I had to throw in the Rolf just in case. I threw in Rolf in there just in case, so you knew, hey man, you got this.
That's awesome.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You threw Ralph hanging over, right? So yeah, the only thing that would have been funnier is if you found my fat Snoopy and you cropped him in there and you made him wider, right? That Snoopy is a gift from my wife the year that we met, and it's funny because like when she yanked him out, I'm like, why is he so wide? And I'm like, that's gonna be his gag going forward. He's always gonna be the wide load Snoopy. Yeah, he looks more like Snoopy's brother Olaf. That's what he looks more like.
I was gonna say his body shape is definitely Olaf.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just part of the
Mark
running
could have
joke
been
in my
Snoopy
family.
after devouring that Thanksgiving turkey that he's like carving up at the end of the.
Which is a very controversial episode because Woodstock is joining him.
He's eating a bird. A bird is
I
eating a
know.
bird. I was like, what are you guys doing?
It happens
Yeah.
in the wild. It's okay.
And for those who don't know, when I can't stream down here, I go upstairs to the bedroom and I set up behind me. I set up the dresser and the headboard of the bed behind me, and there's always a Snoopy hanging on the edge of the bed.
Yep. I love that.
That's usually a very thick Snoopy. It's just he sits better than Ralph. Like Ralph's actually a Muppet, so his body folds up. So if I'm not holding Ralph up to the camera, it's hard to make it work. Whereas wide load Snoopy just sits there.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Made appearances on Ozstradamus Toyz live too, as a matter of fact.
He did. So yeah. Brick,
I
what's your thoughts?
was listening. You know, I was listening earlier, and I didn't quite catch. Is anybody here going after the Giant Man or Giant Man?
I'm not.
Not my wheelhouse. Not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Although, I kind of want it because I do like the retro Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Like those were the first Avengers I remember reading. Okay, not so much. There was West Coast and East Coast at the time. Like I was into comics real heavily, but I went back to looking at a lot of the retro Avengers and reading a lot of those more Jack Kirby style stories from the beginning. And I love that time era of the Avengers, that Silver Age comic.
Yeah, the end of the Silver Age era, like transition into the Bronze Age for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I mean I just asked because I know it's a little bit weird because I'm not gonna get it either. So, but here's the deal: like I'm not a big Marvel Legends collector. I've got like a handful and a Galactus. So, and I was saying this to Mega J. I was saying this to Mega J yesterday that you know, Galactus is super iconic. Like he, in my brain, almost represents the Marvel universe as a whole. If I were really going deep in deeper and getting teams, like you said, the classic Avengers, I'd be all over it. But so I just want to share that because that's not this group. But I know some folks who are super into Marvel Legends, 100% about it. I know some folks who are old school comic heads who haven't been getting Marvel Legends, and they're all about it too. Like they are.
You know, you could collect nothing but Marvel, and you would still have a massive collection of comics, toys, everything. Now, a lot of people who collect Marvel also do some level of DC, whether it's comics, whether it was the DC Universe Classics back in the day, whether it's the McFarlane stuff today, whether it's the Superpowers, you know. What do you call it? You could literally have a full-size collection. So one of the things I was actually worried about was jumping on and not sounding like I didn't know anything about Marvel because it'd been a long time since I looked at the Build-A-Figure stuff. But while prepping for the stream, while like my coffee was brewing, I was like scanning photos. I remember this. But it was such a different time in my life, right? It was 2005, 2006. Like I had just graduated from post-secondary. Right, not secondary, post-secondary. I'm not that young. And I was like, you know, like using some of my new disposable income to buy what I thought was very worth it at the time because you were getting a Build-A-Figure. So
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about this thing regardless. I just think on a couple of levels. One, the sculpt on this thing and the articulation, I will just say sculpt wise, I you know, I know I go on and on about it, but this is like 4 Horsemen level. It is sculpt and deco.
Payne had the deco too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the people that are working on it, I was sharing this to the chat prior, right? This Gentle Giant Studios, like they've worked on a lot of things, and my understanding is that they've also they were the ones who worked on Galactus and the Sentinel. So you know, as far as handling big figures, what I'm really excited about is like somebody out there is really figuring it out and sort of perfecting how to do this. So this is the 3rd time they've had at this thing. I'm not as worried at all about how well this thing can stand up. The poses in there, the action poses, on point. You know, you can cheat a little with a Sentinel and a Galactus, right? Very robotic. This is a human person that's very similar to most of the figures I have. So So the illusion, it has to look good. And from everything that I'm seeing, I'm like, wow, this is fantastic.
No,
some
it
of the
looks
shots
great.
that Ken showed earlier, straight from Hasbro Pulse, they've got that running pose. I almost think that was aimed directly at Jay Gladfelter, Geek Dad Life, like showing, like, look, the knees are okay on this one, since yours, like, that knee did not work on the Sentinel. And even in some of those shots where he's the zombie, you can see where they've articulated him in a way that he can make those rickety kind of awkward movements that were the zombie shambles. They've got it posed in a way that you can see that. So this really works on multiple levels. And if all the stretch goals get met, you've got some really cool options to display this giant. You can go full classic Avengers. You can go zombie Avengers. Or you can do Secret Invasion with the Skrull. And other Skrull figures, which we've also seen some more recent ones with the Queen and such. So I'm really, really liking this overall package. Again, I think the stretch goals are a little weak, but the goals that they're asking to meet for them are not out of the realm of obtainability.
Hey, it's called HasLab, therefore they're experimenting right now.
That's right.
They know that the Ghost Rider did not hit the right notes. And like I said, people remember it because it was a big loss. You know what I mean?
No, totally.
I mean, Sentinel knocked it out of the park. Galactus knocked it out of the park. But it's like winning 2 matches in the UFC, and then you're on the rise, and all of a sudden you get KO'd in the first 3 seconds of your next fight. You know,
100%.
That's what it feels like with that Engine of Vengeance, and now they need a win, so they're kind of working,
this was designed for a W for sure.
And they need that win because they want to prove that they've got what it takes to keep doing these HasLabs. And really, it falls on all of us that want to talk about it and help support it. I mean, Jay and I were talking about Engine of Vengeance the night before the early bird backer ended, like leading up to the countdown of the end of the back. You started watching the numbers drop the moment people realized that they weren't going to hit and get that extra Robbie Reyes figure. Now, they did a pivot later where they were like, well, we'll give you the additional head and we'll do this. But, I want to see them win. This is a safe bet, especially with the lineup that they've got going now with the classic Avengers out. And I know this one's going to fully back. And I'm really hoping it all of its stretch goals.
That's what I haven't done. I haven't checked to see where it's currently at.
I just looked.
Oh, you did? Okay.
35.52.
All right.
Okay.
So
just making some moves.
Yeah, just because I don't have the Brian Brink charts that are on geekdadlife.com right now, but let's just pull this up quickly.
Yeah, please bookmarked so they're easy reference.
But also,
as soon as I type an H into my search window, it pops up Hasbro Pulse. That's like you're going on the websites like too often when they pop right up.
Sorry, can you all hear me? Is the signal okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna jump in and say that I've seen people sort of like, the Mega J was saying last night, the velocity, it's not super fast in terms of the backing, but also it's a lower threshold, right? We're talking 10,000, and I know like we want to see
that's a high threshold, isn't it?
The last one was it? What was the last? What was Galactus?
Maybe I'm not comparing it with the other Marvel ones. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, right. My understanding is that it is lower, that they dropped it, and so I think again in the notion of sort of like with the idea of it trying to be a win, they dropped it a little, I thought. So when I was looking at Brian's charts, if I had to sort of shrink the end goal and look at it, it didn't seem that out of pace to me. It's not a his tank for sure. It's not a Dragonfly, but with say Galactus, I thought it was a little bit. It looked like it was normal. I might be wrong, but that's what I thought.
What I love is like, I don't know why, like the individual finger articulation of all of his digits, and they're all individually articulated. I mean,
That's what somebody was just saying
I
in
don't
the
know
chat a
why
moment
that's
ago.
so cool to me, but like all his fingers at each of his joints can bend.
Yep.
It's just so
I
cool.
have the Astrobots figure that we were looking at Ken. Sorry about
Yes,
that.
yes, the ones by Toy Notch.
Has articulated fingers too. And they're cool, but of course it's a robot. So again, you can kind of cheat with the design. They can look blocky. This one, I'm like, oh, it works. It works for a human hand. I don't know. I'm really impressed by.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oz said he had to go. He left a message in the private chat. So, yeah. And yeah, this is a 3550, like you said earlier, Sorceress. And yeah, I think it's got 44 days. It's gonna trickle along a little bit. Then there's gonna be a spike at the end. So yeah. And sorry, was Galactus 14K to back?
That's what I thought. I think they even mentioned it in the stream that they had lowered. They lowered it. The 10,000 number is a lower number.
Okay.
I want to say Jay Gladfelter mentioned that as well. And so, like, if I'm looking at that curve and kind of compensating in my brain for the lower number at the end, where it's at is okay. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like as far as
I hear some beeping. Is there a car alarm near you, Brick?
Probably. Yep.
Okay. No worries. Yeah.
I've
had some. I don't want to. Maybe I shouldn't acknowledge it, but I've had some complaints about the audio on my streams before. I think it's because the area I'm in right now, I'm just a little bit tinny because, look, glass cabinets here, glass cabinets there, glass table here, sliding door there, glass door there. Yeah, I'm gonna be a little tinny. You know what I mean? When I'm up in the bedroom with Fats. Up in the bedroom with Fat Snoopy? That just sounds weird. Anyway, it's a little more. The acoustics are a lot better in that room because I got big blinds that I can pull shut. There's a mattress to absorb a lot of sound. Yeah. I think Brick may have frozen. Oh no, you're good now. No, you're good. Oh, yeah. You're good now. Yeah.
I muted to prevent the people from complaining more about the audio on your stream.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I shouldn't even bring it up, but I know that
my husband was vacuuming when I first came on. So
well, the only reason I mentioned it is because sometimes when I do my pre-produced videos, I will notice a difference, like because when I'm talking on camera here, and then I switch over to my voiceover because I do the voiceover from the bedroom where it's a little more enclosed and there's more places to absorb the sound. I notice a bit of a difference, but because I overlay music on the background, I don't think that the transition is that hard of a pivot because there's background music kind of smoothing everything over. Like I said, I didn't really want to acknowledge that on the stream, but when I heard the car alarm sound, I was like, oh yeah, I had people ask about the audio before, and I'm just like, speaking of shadow banning. Anyway, just thought it was a funny thing to talk about. So
yeah, Giant Man at $200, where it's at, knowing how much like I've paid for maybe like a build-a-figure, including buying figures that I maybe didn't want. Like I've been in that process for other people, for myself, and picked up parts at conventions, and I was like, $199.
It's worth
not
it.
Bad.
Absolutely not bad at all.
This is
when
like,
you think about it, like the other, the Gentle Giant retro figures that they come out with are like $100. The retro of like 3 3/4 superpowers, Indiana Jones that they're coming out with, Star Wars. I have a lot of those Gentle Giant jumbo figures, and they're $100. Sometimes $89. But for $199, and when you compare it, and that's got an incredible articulation, well worth the price. The price point.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're a Giant fan, then totally worth it.
I do the Mythic Legions figures, including the trolls, and those are about 13 inches tall, impeccable sculpting, beautiful paint jobs, head to toe, $110, limited articulation. You've got to, and the rotoscope figures. This is like a fully engineered, articulated figure that can presumably, based on pictures I know, but based on Galactus and Sentinel track record,
and they are renderings,
can stand on their own, right? Can do all the posing. So I don't know. I wonder sometimes when folks get a little bit frustrated and complaining I understand the concerns about money all the time, I understand some of the concerns about HasLab, who's like well, you know, is well funded. Let's put it that way. They don't have to worry about it, and then people get, you know, upset that they're crowdfunding. Totally get it. But if I think about the level and quality of toys that we're getting, even that Ghost set just came out. I've seen the Razor Crest. Like, that is lifetime, like well beyond what I played with as a kid. Like, what we're getting with these things is these are like amazing quality toys. So I don't know. I'm shelling. I got no skin in the game. I'm just I'm excited about toys. I'm a toy fan. I love the art of toys. This is bringing,
you know, they're fair with their pricing, right, Brick? I mean, when you look at it and you take a look at the sewer layer playset, you know, you get three brick walls and a pipe for $300. That one, you feel like they're you know, trying to take us, and they're trying to see how much money they can get out of collectors, because that was totally not worth it. In terms of cost, had it been half the price, then definitely would have been cool. But for $300, not worth it. But Giant Man at $199, I think, is a good value. They were fairly priced on that one. So I think.
And maybe I'm trying to be too kind, but I'm wondering with NECA if it's a new venture for them. Have they? I mean, I guess they've done the mummy sort of stuff, right? They did a mummy set. I take that back. Yeah, no, they're trying to rip you off.
Yeah. 3 brick walls and a pipe. I think there was a sofa thrown in there. I don't remember, but yeah, that was a lot. I mean, you didn't even get the lid, like the top of the diorama. If they had at least put the top part of it that had like the street on there, and then you can park your turtle van on the top, you know, then you're talking at least maybe you can like layer these out if you bought 3 of them and then create a better world. But it just.
Well, listen, this target is definitely calling me for the hunt, but I am curious. I heard you sort of talking a little bit. I jumped in as you were talking about the Motu Eternia's Choice stuff, and then you moved in with these amazing dream projects around. I threw in there, like, if you're going to do Apocalypse and the Horsemen, why not ship, right? Give me a celestial created ship. But I want to hear a little bit more about where you are on the idea of companies doing what Mattel just did and giving people a little bit of a choice. I think is that a direction we need to move in? Yeah.
I think it's wonderful because, first of all, we're doing a little bit of their market research for them to begin with. So when they pick a big HasLab or, you know, crowdfund project, they're not going to fall flat on their face. They're not going to put all this time, research, development, money, investment into a project that maybe a lot of fans aren't too interested in. You know, they might read the fan demand for something differently. So doing it this way and getting a read on, like, hey, here's 5 projects we can possibly do. Which ones do you guys like? What are you interested in? And then you're getting the fans invested early into that project. So then once that crowdfund actually happens, you already have people that are like, I'm in on it, I'm buying it. Instant customers right there. You got that base to get the project going. I think it was a brilliant move on their part. And then we feel like, hey, we had a piece in making history, because like we contributed to this thing that was like never made for the Motu universe to now become reality and come to fruition, and all the fans got to be a part of that. So I think it's great on every level.
So it's not over yet, though, is it? Or is it?
No, it ends tomorrow at midnight or 11:59 p.m. I got the PM right this time. It's tomorrow night. And again, if you want to vote for that, we do have a link on our website at toyhabits.com. If you go into the crowdfund Eternia's Choice article, there is a link to vote to Mattel's website, and then you can take our unofficial poll, which is really fun. We got a lot of people who already voted.
I wanted Eternos Palace.
It's going great. I was shocked that wasn't on the list. Totally, absolutely blew my mind that they did not put that on there.
Ken, are you into the idea of giving people a menu and then moving towards the final thing that people can crowdfund?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I think it's a fantastic it's a fantastic way to get people's voices heard. Exactly what the sorceress said.
Yeah. And maybe get us interested in future projects. Like if, you know, the one that doesn't get chosen, maybe other things can come back. Lego does this all the time with their Lego ideas that started as a Japanese thing, Kusu. And it's worked out really well for them. Like they're now producing way more sets at any given time because of this, because the market has expanded. There are people who just want those. There are people who want mosaics of the Beatles and Batman. There are now people, you know, like, so I think given the fact that they pulled out of retail and at least for Origins, at least, you know, yes. But pulling back, to me, this is a moving, you know, kind of like in the other direction, saying we're not just going to keep business as usual with this other stuff. We actually want to engage you a little bit more and in a different way, which I think is smart for Masters of the Universe fans, because I'm not yet convinced that the market's expanding. Like we're getting a broader fan base. So now you want to really probably dig in with the people who have been there and are interested in seeing some things. And unfortunately, those are also people who've been buying for a long time. So they likely have a lot of the things. So now it's like, well, what do you still want? How can we still take some of your money? You tell us, right? So
will Hasbro pivot and do the same thing?
That's what I wonder. That's because this is
did
an
you guys vote?
Sort of thing.
I didn't vote.
Did you guys vote already? Do you want to share your vote with us? Do you want to share it?
Did I? Like between the votes, I would have gone Fright Zone, right? Between what's
the vintage classic version.
You get two. Did you have a second? Would you have a second vote?
Eternos. Eternos would have been my main vote. Eternos would have been my main vote. To me, the Fright Zone was my second. To me, the Fright Zone was my second choice. So
yeah. I was also, I voted the version of the Fright Zone, which was the Doom Tower, I guess is what they're calling it, and the Snake Lair. But I think Mega J convinced me that I voted wrong and should have voted for the attack track last night.
You can go back and vote on either, if you use Google
That's
Chrome,
what I heard.
You can go back and do it on Microsoft Edge, or you can also do it on your phone. So technically, if you have 3 browsers, you can vote 3 times. If you can't make up your mind, but you'll just be canceling one out.
I hate to say this, but you could also go incognito.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great move. The tower, I was a little disappointed. I wanted that larger play set. I feel like the Horde is consistently getting shortchanged on play sets, right? We got Snake Mountain, we got Castle Grayskull, and as kids we got that well, it was the Fright Zone. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Fright Zone, and so that was much smaller. And even then, I was like, "Wait, this is what the Horde gets
with the hand puppet."
Yeah, I'm thinking Doom Tower is more than what I wanted to see, though. Like a big, huge version of that.
But they couldn't. You know, there's that custom version that we showed, and Mega J also showed on his channel of the Doom Tower. So it's the Fright Zone from the Filmation cartoon, but at the base of it, it incorporated the vintage Fright Zone, the little cave with, you know, the little hand puppet and the tree, and then it had the rest of the Doom Tower coming off of it.
Slime pit.
One thing I was thinking is, you know, the Fright Zone, the vintage version as one of the choices was nice, but you could see that easily being a retail release. So to me, to be part of that HasLab or the Mattel crowdfund project, they should have incorporated the slime pit with it and did like a whole little, you know, Fright, like a Horde set, instead of just doing a little bit more elaborated Fright Zone. I think that would have been cooler and made much more sense for this type of project to just make it into something larger and more worthwhile, right? Because a Fright Zone, if you recreate one, just like we did the Snake Mountain, you could easily see that at retail for like, you know, $79, $69. It's a smaller playset. It absolutely.
I do wonder, because this is my one issue with how they're rolling this out is scale. There isn't a good, clear indication of scale. So I don't know how big they're intending that Fright Zone to be necessarily. Everything could be a little bit larger.
It could be. So that would be cool. That would be cool. I couldn't decide, so I actually went Attack Track and Snake Lair. And then I said, oh, I really want a Fright Zone. I don't want to buy a vintage one. Those trees are so like fragile. They're always broken and it's missing the puppet. So then a few days later, I voted Fright Zone and Snake Layer. So I couldn't decide. But the Snake Layer playset, I think, is really cool. It's classic looking. It fits into the rest of the world. You can have, you know, your like Gray Skull, your Snake Layer, your Snake Mountain, and all of those clamshell playsets really look great together because you can pile up all your Snake Men in front of that. You got your evil warriors in front of Snake Mountain. You got your heroic warriors in front of Castle Grayskull. And then if you have the incredible space, Eternia can be behind all of that. So that would make an awesome display if you have the space. But I really liked the idea of a classic clamshell playset for the Snake Layer because it's never been made before.
Did you all notice?
And I couldn't decide.
One last thing before I go. Did you all notice how metal that Snake Layer was? There's like a Stocks. There's an Iron Maiden torture device. Like this thing is. I was like, wow, that's kind of brutal. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you got chains hanging in front of Snake Mountain. You got a pit that, like, you know, He-Man falls into a jail cell. You have an acid pit, no less, where you take half the body of your figure and he's like, I'm melting into the acid pit on the back of Snake Mountain. So if we peel all that apart, that's pretty gruesome too.
100%. Well, somebody's got to go shopping. Hopefully, whatever you wanted to buy doesn't get snagged up because you were sitting here with us.
No, I just like to browse. I never buy anything.
It's become that way for me as well. So, all right. Hey, thanks for joining us, Brick. And
and thank you for having me. I hope the sound was okay, but I just, excited to talk with friends about nerdy stuff, man.
Cool.
Okay, y'all.
Stuff.
You all, people at home,
subscribe to Brick Something. Subscribe to Ozstradamus Toyz.
Yeah, keep us from getting in car accidents.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Later, Brick.
Happy hunting.
Happy hunting. And of course, always subscribe to Toy Habits and follow toyhabits.com. But I think a lot of people know that by now, so they probably found you before. They probably found you before they found me. So, yeah.
I'm super excited about your Delta 17 project. I'm like so proud of what your team's come up with, and
when I go incognito in the chat groups, it's usually because I'm in some deep dive decision making with Steve, and he just needs to bounce off his ideas off of. And either that or I'm knee deep in editing some video that's not going to come out for a little while, but I like to queue things up. Like I'm trying to build a library right now because when Delta 17 lands, it's going to occupy all my time. So I need to build a library now to release stuff. Even just making shorts. When in doubt, just do some shorts, right? So
yeah. Maybe some people have to fill in for Michael, but I've got boxes galore already. So,
oh God.
Trying to get.
Well, you're mid move, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when you get the adjoining rooms, oh my God, when you get the adjoining rooms.
I know. That's going to be awesome. If you're ever in Southern California, you'll have to come by. We'll have a pool party and we'll hang out. You can check out the new toy room.
Hell yeah.
We said toy team for pool party. How fun would that be? Next after Comic-Con next year or something. You guys come up. Yeah,
Toy Tubers Unite panel, right?
Yeah.
It was really interesting watching that panel. For people who don't know, at SDCC, Geek Dad Life J hosted the Toy Tubers Unite panel, and he had 3 out of the 4 members of Toy Anxiety on there, toying around, Mad Hatter and Pixel Dan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was just like because we know, like I talked to Hatter, right? I had Craig on here recently. I had Jay on here end of last year. Then I was on Geek Dad Life a bunch of times this year. So it's just interesting seeing our people we know in the community be on an SDCC panel. That's amazing. Right. So
it feels good to know that what we're doing is making an impact in the actual toy industry, that we have some influence in terms of what us as collectors and fans think matters to these companies. And we have a voice, and they're listening to us. All of us out there, all you guys in the chat, everybody in the toy community, we're all part of this together. And the fact that we're helping shape history with, something like a Mattel crowdfund is incredible. And so they're listening to us, and we're making an impact out there. So
or just breaking news and reacting, because like at the end of the day, we're all just toy collectors. We're all just the common folk is what we really are.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway,
and it's great that they're listening to us all, right? They're
100%.
finally like listening to the fans, and we all matter. You guys all matter. Your voice makes a difference. What you want makes a difference. So keep it up, guys. I mean, it's wonderful, and make sure that you put your vote in for that Mattel crowdfund, because you might see your dream project come to fruition next year. So how cool
imagine that? Imagine that. You're like, yes, my vote counted today. Yeah. So we should probably wrap up here, but I know you're on again in a few hours, and I didn't get a chance because I didn't know who was going to come on. I did not get a chance to update the description and put everyone's links in there. But tell everyone about Toy Habits.
Oh, so we're at toyhabits.com, breaking news on a daily basis. Michael is on vacation this weekend, so I will be hosting with Daniel Hearn from Soundtracks with Birdman. He is going to fill in for Michael today, and we're going to be recapping this week's news, talking about the Eternia's Choice, checking in on how's that doing, taking a look at some awesome G.I. Joe classified in-hand images that some collectors are getting some early samples of stuff, which that's pretty cool. I'm surprised. Like,
is that the Wolf Spider, or is that the Tunnel Rat, or is that Shadow Tracker?
We have Shadow Tracker. We had the Crimson Viper. We had lots of these guys. I'm taking a look right now. The Valkyries. I know you did an awesome review on that one. And we had the Wolf Spider as well. And
that review was one of the easier things.
There's quite a bit. And I'm, I always go back to thinking about last year when we were waiting on our Tiger Force Outback wave that just kept getting delayed. So we finally got it in hand. And now it's like, I feel like, oh, here's a digital render, or here's a name only reveal. And then people like 2 months later have the freaking figures in their hand. They're like cranking them out super fast.
That's the age we live in. Right. And that review, that Valkyrie's review, is one of the easier videos I've had to do. Turnaround time on that was actually really fast compared to my usual stuff, but because it's new, it's in hand, all the views are front loaded. You know what I mean? Like people will watch that as opposed to the slow burn that I normally get with my history content. And like, should I just do that from now on? But I have to get the figures early for that to matter. So yeah, but I got the notice. Snow Job is on the way.
Really? From where? Where are you getting it?
Hasbro Pulse.
Oh, nice. I gotta check mine. I know my Trouble Bubbles shipped. Yeah. So I gotta check on Snow Job. That is so cool. That one is the one that I'm looking forward to the most out of all of these new recent releases.
I didn't get that one.
Really?
I did not get that one because I had the one that I upgraded from Gridiron Studios. I got that Televiper loadout, and I said I'll get the Trouble Bubble later, and it sold out. So
it's okay too. But if I end up not needing my second one,
don't worry about it. We'll
maybe I was going to put the twins in them, so I ended up buying two. That's incredible. And I actually have my Snow Surface sitting in my pile of loot right now at BBTS, so I got to ship those. They just
so much G.I. Joe classified. It's like, again, speaking of exclusive things, you could make an entire G.I. Joe classified channel, and it would be just fine. Right, that's what Full Force Podcast has basically become, an exclusive G.I. Joe classified channel. I know he knows a lot of history, but still,
in terms of YouTube and also the website, I think the more lines you cover, because all of us have cross interests. We collect multiple different lines. I think you open it up to a much broader audience, and that just gives a higher level of success for your channel and the website. So. Not focusing on one thing in particular and that's it, I think is a much more successful formula for what we do. And that's why I think you cover what you're passionate about, what you love, and that comes across in your streams, in your reviews, in any of the media that you put out, the content that we create. If you're passionate about something, you love the product, you love the brand and the line, people will see that and they're going to connect to it and they're going to enjoy your content that much more. So, you know, you write about and talk about whatever.
Well said. Well said. If you love it, it will come across because people can sense the passion. Right.
Exactly.
I got a message from somebody the other day who hadn't been watching the live streams for a while, but wanted to say, hey, you know, I'm getting back into watching again. And, you know, thank you for the passion is basically what he said. Yeah. And I'm like, I appreciate that wholeheartedly. Yeah, I'm actually back on tomorrow. My next live stream will be about figure upgrades and customs along with Anthony Romo from Tony's Figs. Nice. So that'll be tomorrow's. That was actually the TKO this week. This one was a spur of the moment. You know what I should do right now? I went to sleep early last night, so I'll wake up early. Yes, I was feeling frosty this morning. Is that the right word? Frosty? I have no idea what the right word is for that. And I just decided to do this. Basically a pop-up live, not a planned one. So everyone, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be starting that one a bit later, not by much. Like I'll start that one about 30 minutes later than I usually do. Or no, than today's. I start at my usual time, 9:45 a.m. Give everyone a chance to finish lunch on the East Coast. Give everyone a chance to ramp up on the West Coast. And yeah, we shall see you then. And the next Delta 17 video drop will be next Friday. I will be covering the good guys. Let me see if I can find the thumbnail. I'll flash it up here. But yeah, basically it's a deep dive on the good guys because I already did the bad guys before that. And that'll hopefully just generate a little bit more interest. I can't actually find the thumbnail right now, but y'all get the idea. Y'all get the idea. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I didn't scroll back far enough. So yeah, this will be the good guys. Video.
That's awesome. That
yes.
Great.
Yes. So Jim Largo, you and Will. You know what?
They just make you want to watch your videos. Ken, you do a great job on this.
You know what though? The thumbnails, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You can make what you think is a really clickable thumbnail and it just doesn't. Either people don't show it, the audience doesn't resonate. That's okay because we do what we like and it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
As long as you love it, they're all gonna love it too.
And as long as my friends care.
Like button, or you haven't subscribed to Ken's channel and you're watching out there, make sure to subscribe because you're never going to miss out on awesome content. Hit the like button for Ken. Ken's got an amazing channel. Go back and watch his other retrospective history videos. They're so much fun, really enjoyable, and I learn a lot from them. So, you know, very, very educational if you want to get into the history of toys and all the lines we love to collect. So make sure, this way. I'm always backwards. Make sure you like, you subscribe, keep watching Ken's channel because he is awesome. Wanting to wish Michael again a very happy birthday. And I will see you guys all later.
And thank you very much for the really overwhelmingly kind words. And you know, yes, a lot of times those retrospectives, that's actually what I want this channel to like be the bread and butter, like make that the bread and butter.
I love watching them, Ken.
Right. And thank you so much.
Just sit back, I enjoy it. It's like my relaxing time. I just truly love watching them.
I just wish I could make some of those videos a bit longer because those retrospectives take so long to make that like I could sit there for hours and hours and hours. Oh, I got a 10-minute retrospective. I don't know how to milk this any longer, but you know, that's why I do the end screens at the end.
Lasting value because you want to go back and rewatch them. It's not like a one and done. They're fun. I've done that before where I'll go watch a history video and then, you know, a couple months later, I'm like, oh, that was a cool episode. And I'll just go rewatch it again. So they have rewatchability because they're just enjoyable to sit and see somebody talk about these.
You know, there's a lot of like, I mean, like we talk about Secret Galaxy as one of the like retrospective channels, right? When Ed's Retro Geek Out was a guest on here, I said the same thing to him. I was like, you know, your retrospectives actually helped me gear up for like, okay, now you've kind of set the standard. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I even said the same thing to Michael at Retro Blasting when I met him at and Tony as well. I said to them at Joe Fest, I'm like, the way you script stuff, the way you pace stuff, even if you cover an entirely different topic, I will watch the flow of your video because these people came in, including the other people I mentioned before, like Edge Retro, they came into the space before me. So I like just to be like, okay, how is this curated? How is this presented? And then turn around and cover something like Transformers, which isn't, you know, in the wheelhouse of the people that I mentioned, and then try to like fill that gap the same way. Right. Unfortunately, I kind of feel like that some of those channels rose up during the time when Toys That Made Us was a big thing. And when Toy Hunter was kind of on the downcline, because Toy Hunter, even though it was about toy hunting, there was a lot of information that was thrown in there. And I sort of came up during the toy news era of our lives. So I'm kind of like, if I'd started 3 years earlier, would I be, you know, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to be out there because the idea is to get timeless stuff.
Exactly. And that's what you've been creating, Ken. Absolutely. Like I started out watching all of those channels you mentioned, and you know, it was during COVID, we were home, I was bored, and I'm like, I'll just watch that episode again. You know, 1984 Masters of the Universe. Great line of figures. I'm bored. I'm gonna watch that episode because I just enjoyed it so much, and I've seen those like several times each. So I'll go back and I'll rewatch Retro Blasting videos or Analog Toy videos when he does those histories of my favorite toy lines, because they're just really enjoyable. And then all the G.I. Joe ones, you've been doing so much fun. So the content you're creating is timeless, Ken, and they have rewatchability, and people will just sit back and just enjoy them. And they're a piece that you can pick up and watch at any time. The thing with toy news is it comes and goes, and then the news is old. And then you're like, oh yeah, that thing's been out.
It's funny because I mentioned this to my patrons. Which plays onto Brick's point. I did like a 30-minute Patreon video where I kind of put the thought, I'm like, you can put all your efforts towards doing deep dives and editing and research and all that, or you could take a very similar amount of time and do toy news. Now, toy news, each individual live stream you do might take a bit less effort than the super deep dives, but you're also at the mercy of the news. So you may have no plans. You might be sitting there saying, I'm going to rewatch Band of Brothers this afternoon. Oh, they just dropped a Sentinel. Michael, what are you doing? You know, Michael from Toy Habits. What are you doing? Okay, let's jump on and do that. So all of a sudden your time, a similar amount of time gets spread in a reactionary moment. And sometimes you're like, I don't feel like it today. No, I got to do it because it's toy news. Right. And that's like, and I'm like, some people choose to take their channels in that direction, but that's where I get my news. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I'm able to keep up. Right. So, anyway, and, you know, people have said some really nice things in the chat about, you know, both your channel as well as the retrospectives that I do. Awesome.
So you guys in the chat, we all love you. You are an incredible community. I have to give a big shout out to all of you, constantly supporting us, watching in the streams, you know, sending such nice comments, and just really being a big part of what we all do. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thanks to you.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was like, just watch Toy Habits, go to toyhabits.com, follow Ozstradamus Toyz, Brick something. And, you know, you all helped enrich this stream a little bit, because if nobody came on, I was going to come on and do a 45, 50-minute, you know, thing, and then say, see you later. But you all came in with some of your thoughts, and I was really appreciative of that. Anyway, thank you so much for being on. I think I'm going to call it a day right now, and we'll carry on with watch Toy Habits later today. So, yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys later this afternoon. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye-bye.